When a trader thinks the price of a stock will decline, they may choose to short sell or short the stock. So let's go over how to open, monitor, and close a short stock position using the thinkorswim paper money platform. Remember, short selling is done on margin, so a trader must be in a margin-approved account. A margin account allows you to borrow against the securities you already hold in your brokerage account. Your accounts are labeled at the top of the platform. Trading on margin is risky because margin interest could add to potential losses. Starting at the Trade tab, let's say I want to short Tesla. I'll enter TSLA into the symbol box. Of course, this is just an example and not a recommendation. Next, I'm going to check the availability of the company's shares. This means I'm going to see how easy it is to borrow shares, and the platform says ETB, which means it's easy to borrow. Tesla is a large company with millions of shares traded each day, which is why borrowing is easy. Despite the stock being easy to borrow, there's no guarantee that a brokerage can continue to maintain a short position for any period of time. For example, an influx of selling could require the broker to close your position without regard to your profit or loss. The risk is larger when the stock is hard to borrow. Carvana is an example of a hard to borrow stock. It's marked HTB. This doesn't mean that you can't borrow the shares, but you may have to pay a hard to borrow fee, which will increase the difficulty of turning a profit and could add to potential losses. If you don't see an ETB or HTB, like in the case of Artivion, then you can't borrow shares. Going back to Tesla, I'll initiate the order by clicking on the bid price. Next, I'll set the number of shares I want to trade. For this example, I'll short 1 share. Of course, I can adjust the limit price if I want or make any other changes. I'll click Confirm and Send. The order confirmation dialog box gives me the order description to review. It shows that if I'm filled at the limit price, I'll receive a credit of $193.33 to my account. Despite the credit for the trade, notice that the trade decreases the buying power because half the cost of the trade is frozen for margin. So if I was hoping to use the credit to place a different trade, I'm limited to how much of it I can use. If I were to short a hard-to-borrow company like Plug Power, then I'd see a message notifying me of an additional hard-to-borrow fee. This rate is in addition to the margin rate. It's charged as a percentage of the overall value of the position. In this case, I would pay an annualized 1.25%, which is a fraction of a cent per day. I'll go back to my Tesla order and click Send to complete the trade. If the trade fills, a notification will appear at the top. However, I can also go to the Monitor tab and check the working orders. Because a short position is leveraged using margin, it's important to keep a close eye on the position to avoid large losses and high margin costs. You can manage your short positions from the Monitor tab. A short position will have negative shares. A gain occurs when the trade price is higher than the mark. A loss occurs when the trade price is lower than the mark. These prices don't reflect margin costs. Here's an open short position on Honeywell. Let's say I'm ready to close it. First, I'll go to the symbol. Next, I'll select the buy order. Remember, we sold the shares to open a short trade, so now we must buy the shares to close it. I'll review the order ticket to make sure everything looks good, and then click Confirm and Send. Once again, I'll review the order and click Send to complete the process. Finally, I'll confirm the order filled and the position is closed. There are also a couple of features in the watch list section that short sellers should know about. A watch list is a list of stocks or securities that you're keeping an eye on because you may be interested in eventually trading them. To make this easier to follow, I'll click on the list icon in the gadget and then detach it and expand it. To add shorting features to a watch list, I'll click the gear icon and select Customize. Next, I'll type in HTB for the hard to borrow, easy to borrow column. I'll click Add Item. Next, I'll type in Short Sale Borrow Rate, and then I'll click Add Item. Finally, I'll click OK. Now, I can see which stocks are easy or hard to borrow, and I can see the short sale borrow rate for each stock. Stocks that are easy to borrow, and even some of the hard to borrow stocks, have no additional fees. However, the harder it is to borrow a stock, the higher the rate will be. Short selling is a bearish strategy that allows investors more flexibility to respond to market changes. However, it's also a two-edged sword that requires a plan that defines when to open and close the trade. Consider practice shorting stock using the thinkorswim paper money platform before you move on to the real thing.